Hi, this tutorial is an introduction to the program Microsoft PowerPoint. I am operating PowerPoint on a Mac, but its functionality is the same as it will be if you are using a PC. I am going to show you some of the key tools, some of the most basic things that PowerPoint can do. At the end of the day, PowerPoint is a presentation tool, which allows you to put across information clearly and in sequence. We are going to look at how to open a new document, how to create slides, how to change font and put pictures into your presentation. We are going to be using as an example some files to do with a project on feminist art. You will have the same files, among others, accessible to you in Google Classroom, with which you can start to play around with PowerPoint too. Before we open the program, however, I'm going to tell you a quick story. Watch this video.
Shuttle Columbia, with 7 astronauts aboard, was streaking across the blue Texas skies just 16 minutes from home when it blew apart. In a horrifying echo of the Challenger catastrophe 17 years earlier, flaming debris fell to Earth along a 300-mile-long trail of destruction, Fort Worth to western Louisiana.
Sadly, I think from the video that's available, it does not appear that there were any survivors.
Officials say Columbia suffered a catastrophic structural breakup that may have begun 7 minutes before the spacecraft disintegrated.
Why am I showing you a video about a space shuttle disaster? Well, according to Edward Tufte, Emeritus Professor at Yale University, the problem was this. Boeing engineers had the information available to diagnose the problem with the Columbia Space Shuttle. They had already done the maths. They knew what parts of the space shuttle were broken. All they had to do was to present the information to the NASA people involved, and the project would have been solved. Lives could have been saved. But what happened? They gave a bad PowerPoint. The key sentence is this, quote, "These reports provided mixed readings of the threat to the Columbia," unquote. So we know that PowerPoint can be a tool for good and for bad, and it is just that, a tool. You are still the main vehicle for communication, and so it is up to you to understand the program properly so you can communicate more clearly. Bearing this in mind, this tutorial will equip you with some of the basic tools to get started. Now I am going to open Microsoft PowerPoint. Once you have opened Microsoft PowerPoint, you will see in front of you a series of templates from which you can choose. I'm going to select a blank template. This I prefer because unless you have a specific design in mind that is, and this is important, related to your subject, as in, does this template communicate your idea more clearly than a blank template would? Well, the answer is usually no, so I go for blank. I have also chosen to here get rid of the text boxes provided. All new slides are provided with 2 new text boxes, a title box and a subtitle box, but I usually get rid of them so that I can create my own. Here I will show you how to do this. Studies have shown that text is more visible on a white background. That's black text on a white background. Of course, if your PowerPoint is just made up of pictures, you may wish to go for a black background. If you go to File, New Presentation, or New Blank from Templates, it will take you back to that first option where you had the text boxes which I deleted. However, I want to go over my initial decision and get rid of them, so I will exit that window. I'm going to make up this presentation with materials from this folder, materials to do with a fictional project on feminist art. In the folder, there are photos and also a series of links provided. I've decided to create a title slide. This will require a text box. You see at the top, I click Insert Text Box and I drag it across the screen, In this I can type. Now you can see that my typeface to begin with is very small, and because this is the first slide, I'm going to make it a little bit larger. To do this, I'm going to highlight it and change the font to something a bit bigger. We'll try that. And I think still a bit bigger. That's better. I'll shrink the size of the text box. And there you go. I put it roughly in the middle of the slide. Now if you go to the bottom right hand corner and click on this little symbol, it goes to View Slide. This will take you into the slide viewer format, as if you're actually giving the presentation. There's a symbol again. Now, to create a second slide. I can right click here and click New Slide. That's right click on the left hand side. And you see it's starting to create a little timeline from the first slide to the second slide. Something about font. I've chosen a sans serif font. This means there are none of those pointy ends on the end of the letters. Studies have shown again and again that sans serif font is easier to read, especially on the screen. A sans serif font like Arial or Helvetica, like this, is most suitable. I'm not going to have art below feminist because it looks a bit like fart. So I'll extend the text box to give art a little bit more space. I'll move it back into the middle. A nice bold font for you. You see from the side here, I'm going to drag in a photo and oh, that turns out to be a very small quality photo. You can see it's actually very small on the screen. So I'm going to delete that and try another one. I'll drag in this other photo. That's a sculpture by the artist Louise Bourgeois. It's called Filet de Boeuf. And it is from 1972, I think. 1978. And I put that in the bottom left hand side. I've made that font slightly smaller because I think it looks neat. Now, you may wish to put the photograph at the beginning of your slide presentation. This, in effect, creates almost like an upside down lesson. You're starting your presentation with the big impact picture, and then you are going on to your title. That's when you can make your introduction. You may wish to start your lesson, you see, with a picture to make a bit of an impact, to create a discussion, to then lead on to your introduction to the topic with your various learning outcomes and so on. I'm just opening up my Word document here to get access to the links I created earlier. So this is a link to an article from The Guardian about Carol Schliemann, who's a performance body artist from the 1970s. I'm going to drag in a picture of her work here. You see, I dragged that straight into the text box, which got rid of the text box. So either you can delete it beforehand, or you can just drag in the picture. I'm typing up the title of the artwork there, nice and bold at the top, but I think that is rather a little bit too big. I'm just going to play around with balancing the location of the picture here and the size of the font. Now I'm going to ask some questions. This can be an important tool to use in your PowerPoint. It's also important not to put too much text on a PowerPoint presentation. People will get bored, they won't be able to read it all, they will be focusing on other things. However, a question, now it doesn't take up too many words, and it's a nice bold entry point for point of learning. It also serves as a reminder to yourself when you're delivering a lesson to leave space for these questions. And remember, if you're leaving space for a question, leave space also for the answers. Don't be afraid of a bit of quiet in the classroom while people are thinking of an answer. Yeah, I'm still playing around with the arrangements here, making things balanced, or according to my eye, at least. And there you have it. At the top here, you can introduce an animation to your pictures. This will allow you to, when you're delivering the presentation, click a button and your picture will arrive, as it were, onto the screen through any of these animations provided at the top of the screen here. Animations can be a nice way to spruce up your presentation, to surprise people, or if you want to keep the picture hidden to begin with, if you're asking a question and you then want to produce a greater impact by then revealing the picture, you may wish to use an animation. However, they can also be extremely annoying, so I'm going to delete it here. And you can do that just on the right hand side here. Your animation has appeared. I'm going to go and click on it on the right hand side and delete it. Thanks for listening, and now that we're done, please go back to the Google Classroom site.